I click live. Oh, there we go. Okay, so we are live. So welcome to this episode. We have Calvin Gohard Richard, and we're going to be having a discussion today. I met Calvin several years ago in a business event in San Diego. Glad to have met him, and over the years, have seen him grow into a leader, a mentor. He's an amazing entrepreneur and also very successful in relationships. He's been married for around 21 years already. And so I want to bring him on today's show to share some of his experience as well as some of his tips and strategies for helping you navigate your own relationships and also how to become a better leader in your own life, in regard to your own health, in regard to your mindset. That way, ultimately, you can get the results that you're looking for. With that said, Calvin, how's it going, brother?
It's going well, Nick. Good to be here, man. Appreciate it. Appreciate the time and to get together and chat about life and biz and marriage, all these fun things. So
absolutely, yeah, you're a man of many talents, and so I think the best way to open up is to maybe share with the audience sort of what's sort of the main thing that you do or the main thing that you're involved with.
Yeah. So my history is 25 plus years in the areas of sports medicine, strength and conditioning, and fitness. I have a fitness studio that I've had out here in Marble Falls, Texas. I'm originally from New Orleans, and you don't find Marble Falls, Texas on the map. It's a total God thing for us to end up here. It went through 9 different cities after Hurricane Katrina and ended up in Marble Falls. But it's been a blessing. It's a faith-based studio. We open and close in prayer. We look at mind, body, soul, the whole person. And so we do what we call team personal training. Been doing this for about the last 16 years. Started out at the back of my Dodge Dakota truck in a church parking lot, and then it's built and grown to in our facility itself. We've been in almost 15 years now in our studio, and yeah, we call it team personal training because what we say is we solve the problem of expensive and boring one-on-one personal training. And so I love the camaraderie. I love the teamsmanship. I enjoyed like team sports more so than individual sports. So even when I played tennis, I grew up playing tennis, basketball, and football. When I played tennis, I enjoyed doubles more than singles because there's something about that camaraderie and teamsmanship that's always been a part of who I am. And how do we get into this industry itself? A lot of times you look at your pitfalls or your shortcomings, literally, pun intended, shortcomings. I was a 4'7", 82-pound freshman in high school. I was literally the smallest kid in school. And so all I knew was work ethic. I can outwork you, out hustle on the basketball court, the football field, the tennis court, and it extended to every single thing I did. If we're in, if we're playing, we jump in the ramps. You do it with 4 bricks, I'm going to do 6. I'm going to go extreme and do over the top with that. So all I knew is I can make up for it and hustle. I led every basketball team I played on in steals because you can't get lower to the ground. I'm not going to be the block shot leader. I'm not going to be the rebound leader, but I'm going to D you up and I'm probably going to steal the ball from you. So I focused on my strengths even then, which was, the obstacle is the way. Most of you guys may have read the book, Ryan Holiday's book about the obstacle is the way. And the thing that is in the way is actually the way. And so I needed to be the little guy to create my persona. And I didn't realize until later on in adulthood that I can speak loud. I can cuss loud. As a kid, I can cuss loud. I can talk about you, your mama, your teeth, your hair, your shoes, and I would win the argument. I made myself bigger, and I didn't realize I was doing that to protect myself from being bullied. And so I didn't realize it was a defense mechanism. So it caused me to be a great communicator. It caused me to work on those skills and knowing how to communicate and sell the concept. So that was what I needed to be a bigger person. So I grew a foot through high school. I was actually small because I had a growth hormone deficiency. I actually had to take growth hormone injections to get caught up. Didn't hit puberty till 17. Grew a foot through high school. Never touched weights till I got to college. Got to college, started working out. First year, I grew 2 more inches. So I went from a foot through high school, was 5'7" when I graduated. Grew 2 more inches and gained 50 pounds of muscle in my first year of college. I'm 5'9" now. I'm moving big people around and I'm dunking at 5'9". Like, this is amazing. I like this. And I'm going to school for sports medicine, but at the same time, this strength and conditioning thing is just building. And I'm liking the physicality. I can move folks. I can do certain things. I felt more confident. So when you're in high school and you're starting all the girls, you got to have game. So I had to have a mouthpiece to be able to have some game, to be able to talk to ladies. You know what I'm saying? So it's one of those things where, I have the size and what do I do with it? So I just felt led moving more into that strength and conditioning. I was a college strength and conditioning coach at University of New Orleans and athletic trainer. And then Hurricane Katrina got us out of here doing what we're doing here. So that's the primary business. But then we'll talk about a little bit about Lionheart too as well. But yeah, fitness has been the foundation. And in so many people's lives, if you engage into that, it will cross over to other areas of your life. You know, you take the disciplines that it takes to take care of your body, you know, how you eat, how you work out, how you train, you know, like I don't know, niggas out you know, out on location. You're not at home right now. You're probably still going to find a way to get a workout in. Same with me. It's what we do.
100%.
You know, we don't just say, oh, I'm on vacation. And you know what? I think I'm going to just skip brushing my teeth because I'm on vacation. You know, I'm not at home, so I'm not going to wipe my butt. Just going to let it get all crusty and just let that fester. I'm not going to do those things. No, these are things that we do. So no matter what, training is part of life. And those disciplines can carry over to other areas of our lives.
Yeah, and this you bring up an amazing point, man. So this ties back to identity, and it's I feel it's one of the most important things for men, because if we start to identify as this is who I am, I'm fit, I'm disciplined, I'm a leader. The more you identify that way, the more you start to show up that way. Because a big question I get from guys a lot is, how do you stay motivated? And I think that what you're saying here definitely ties into that, hey, it doesn't matter if you're on vacation. It doesn't matter if you're someplace else that you're not at home. You're still going to be able to stay fit. You're still going to be able to get a workout in, because it's who you are. You're not chasing this exterior goal. You're building up the internal. And it really relates to the concept of upgrading oneself. I myself share a similar story with sort of being short in stature. So getting bigger, stronger, more jacked, leveling up. So yeah, I really appreciate that, man. And so basically, how has that really impacted your life? Or would you say like that's gotten better and better and better as the years have gone on for you?
Absolutely. And the key you said there is identity. That's something I work with a lot of like men with as well. It's the identity. Sometimes, well, many times as men, we put the identity in our titles, in our accolades, but also in our mess ups, the things that we screwed up at, that DUI, that whatever it is that and make that our identity. So we have to be careful what labels we place on ourselves. And so mine is simple as far as we have to, first of all, kill off the former identity. You have to kill that guy off and become a whole nother person. You know, it's biblical, death, burial, and resurrection. I can't get away from when it was what the practicality of what the Bible teaches, but it is part of that. I need to die to my old self to become the new person. And then even with that, with my athletes, I've trained young athletes and, you know, of course, collegiate and professional athletes as well. And if I ask them, like, you know, so what did you do? I play basketball. Do you play basketball, or are you a basketball player? They're two different things. If you just play basketball, I'm going to crush you. I'm a basketball player. I am that. Like, as I said, I'm him. I am a basketball player. I am fitness. I am strong. And so the identity says, this is what I do by default. It doesn't matter about the circumstances or situations. I find a way to create that identity. But in the same light of that, if I've been I always give this example, if I have been an accountant for the last 20 years, and all of a sudden QuickBooks comes up with QuickBooks accounting, there's some AI regulations and all things like that, and it absolutely blockbusters the whole field of accounting. And you no longer have an industry that supports what you've done for the last 20 years. And most guys, I'm an accountant. What do I do? Well, I'm an accountant. Either you figure out what skill set and what things you actually can do that you did in that profession that would transfer to something brand new. You're going to die telling a story about how I was an accountant, and I'm just chasing after being an accountant. This is wrong, and the man is taking my... No, you have to adapt. You have to change. But we get caught in what we've been so much, and that's a part where it can be dangerous. So what identity do I need to create now? You know, whether it's there's a book called The Alter Ego Effect. I utilize that. Who I step into the studio when I train, I'm a different person when I do Tough Mudder. I'm a different person when I stand up and I actually, when I'm preaching a message or giving a speech. Like right now, I'm in the element of me being the greatest of myself. My energy is different. I step into the lion. I step into the general or King David. These are my alter egos. Now, my wife, they don't need that. She don't need the general. My kids, they don't need the general. They don't need go hard. You know, she needs Antonio Banderas. You know, she needs the softer side of me. Well, you know, so those are the things that we step into those identities accordingly. And so I know I went a little different for the question. What was you said before?
No, no, I like where we're going, man, because this is super important for guys. This is
Yeah.
very important because what you're saying here is that you're so we have to create this new identity. We have to step into that, but we also have to have the awareness that we may require different levels of that identity depending on our situation or who we're dealing with at that particular time. And I completely resonate. Like when you're in the gym, you're there to win. You're stepping into the arena to win. You have a winner's mindset, but you don't want to have all that aggressiveness and that fierceness when you're with your family or when you're with your wife, because they don't require that. So I appreciate you mentioning that.
She deserves a bit of aggression, but that's a different type of aggression we're talking about. Right?
I get you.
But even when you're saying that, like most of us have an identity crisis at some point in time. As men, there's something that a transition in life, whether it's in relationships and marriage, becoming from single to being married, or it's becoming to a different area. When I moved here to Marble Falls, Texas, we're about an hour west of Austin, and I was a college strength coach. So I come here, I'm a college strength coach. Guess what? There's no colleges near here. So either I need to move to a location where there's a college, or I figure out who I really am, or tell a different story. The story you tell is the truth you know, it's the life you live. So I can tell a story about I'm a college strength coach, and man, one day when they build a college out here, then I'm gonna have a job. No, I had to redefine. And I actually went from working with 19, 20-year-old high octane college athletes, the best of the best, to going to a retirement resort out here called Horseshoe Bay Resort, where I went from those guys to Mima, who just wanted to look good and be able to pick up grandkids and be able to get up and down off the floor. But I told the story like, this was amazing that working with these athletes, it was great and high energy, and I could beat the snot out of them because they're all on scholarships, and we could work the dog out of them, which in creating freaks of nature was kind of my motto. But these folks, I'm helping them prevent the slip and fall. I'm helping them prevent like the broken hip or the knee injury. I'm helping them the term that I like to use is play span, not just lifespan. A lot of people can live long, but there's not a lot of life in those last years. But how can I do this and still enjoy traveling and enjoying hiking, enjoying being a grandparent that is not just sitting in a rocking chair and watching their grandkids play, but they're out there running. They're out there doing certain things. They're throwing a frisbee, playing football, shooting baskets. That's my goal. And so I want to help them with that. So I told a better story that this is more rewarding because I'm helping these folks with a quality of life. And that was essential for me to be able to see, because I told a different story instead of holding on to the glory days of University of New Orleans, being a college strength coach. And it was more rewarding because I told that story and walked in that story.
100%, and I like that. The play span, quality of life is 100% important, because we can live to 100 years old, but if we're 80 years old and we can't move around, that's not really gonna be beneficial. So absolutely. Quality of life is very important, and health is the foundation, I believe, of everything. It is the ultimate wealth. As long as we have health, we have good energy. This vehicle we have for our entire life. If we understand how to maintain it, how to build it, we will have a very high quality of life.
Absolutely. I look at that.
So with that said, I want to sort of go right ahead.
One caveat to what you're saying there.
I was going to say one.
Yeah, when we talk about, I look at, health is wealth. Definitely health is wealth. And many men who are climbing the corporate ladder, they're building businesses, they're building certain things, and at the sacrifice of their health. One day I'm going to do it. One day I'm going to take care of my health. And you've seen folks who really caught a grip of that early, like Gary Vee. It was all about the work, and then he basically hired a guy to be his full-time like life and fitness and wellness coach. God trained him, sent to the meals. He went all in on that, and he realized he's a better person and a better business owner. I always call it like an entrepreneur athlete. There's elements that it takes to become an entrepreneur, that it takes some of that grit and resiliency that comes with athleticism. So what happens is I look at their body as the wallet. So we sacrifice and we work all this hard to have this retirement, have this money in the later days. And if we sacrifice the body to make the money, then the wallet as the body is in shambles. Just like the wallet, if the wallet is all beat up and tattered and it has holes in it, the money falls out. You can't even enjoy the money because it has no substance to push it. The body is the vehicle. It is the wallet that moves us in that direction. So look at it in that way, that your investment in your health is going to allow you to enjoy that money if you can stay long enough to have that placeman and lifespan. So I just want to kind of, that's just an analogy that I like to use when it comes down to your body is that thing that's holding, as the vessel that carries the call on your life. It carries the purpose. It carries the finances. It carries your legacy. So take care of this.
100%. That is a big issue, because I do see a lot of successful men, and I've worked with many myself, that they sort of put health on the back burner while they're chasing this other thing. But when health is taken from the back burner and it's put on the forefront, they actually come to find that they have more energy, they have more resilience, they feel better, and now you could even push further and faster if you wanted to.
Absolutely.
And so, yeah, that's perfect transition, because I was actually going to bring up, I know that you do the stuff with the gym, but how did you sort of transition into what you're doing in regard to coaching men?
Yeah. So, you know, in our studio, we've had different programs before, co-ed stuff most of the time, but every now and then I did like a little black dress program. Of course, that's for the ladies. And so I just kind of sat around and said, you know what? I never done anything just for guys. And so as much as I was involved with men's ministry at our church and young adult ministry and mentoring folks, boys and big brothers, Big Brothers, Big Sisters kind of I've done a lot of those different mentoring things like that. But at my studio, I didn't do anything. And so in 2018, I did what I call a More Than Conquerors Men's Challenge. And it was a 6-week challenge. I had about 25 guys doing it. Most were in the studio, some were all online. And we had this like guys only workout. And it was just a different energy behind it. You know, the guys only, and kind of, you know, this camaraderie is a little different. Guys kind of took their hair down a little bit and just was relaxing a little different. And then at the end of the workout, I did what we call Life Lead Fellowship. We sat around in a circle in chairs, and the guys that was online, I zoomed them into the conversation, and we talked about life. We talked about difficulties and obstacles and all the things that are going on. And some guys were sharing their hearts like they'd never had before. Some guys were shedding tears, and some guys were like, "Yo, I've never seen men like this. Never seen men being vulnerable. You know, I guess machismo or whatever. You know, I just can't let that down. You know, stuff those feelings. Don't big boys don't cry. That whole foolishness we hear, all these things, and those walls are being broken down. But something I noticed in that was men needed a community to just be themselves without ladies around, because we're not used to being vulnerable around women. And so that's why it's hard a lot of times for men in relationships to be able to, take down those walls of protection, because all they've been taught is protect, protect, protect. And so I realized that if we had 20 women in a room and they were talking about their lives and being vulnerable and sharing things that are personal and dear to their heart, if me or Nicholas walked inside that room, they keep talking. They don't care. They're used to being vulnerable. But you get 20 guys in that room and one lady walks in, change the conversation. Straighten up, because we're not used to that. So guys needed a community. I just recognized that guys need a place for just themselves. Whether that's in a Bible study, it's in a meeting. If it's a guy's not out, we do things like that in this community itself, or just time where we can actually communicate, a place. And that's why so that moved me into, I did that in 2018. And I'm like, who am I to lead these guys? He's uber successful. He makes plenty of money. And this guy's older than me. And who am I? And I just believe, everything showed up. I believe the Holy Spirit gave me what I needed. And sometimes it was guys answering each other's questions. So I just needed to curate the conversations inside the room. And I was like, this is amazing. I can do this for the rest of my life. It lit me up. So at the end of the 6 weeks, I'm supposed to figure out some program to do there. And I did nothing. Absolutely nothing, because I got in my own head and did nothing. Fast forward 2019. Did the same thing. Excited, love it. Guys are enjoying it. We want to do more. And I did absolutely nothing again. Fast forward to 2020. And so, like most of us, when we start a business, we know how to do the thing, but we don't know how to run a business. I didn't know how to really be a CEO. And one of my clients who had a very successful restaurant in this area, very, very, very successful, he took me on his wing and actually taught me business. I probably wouldn't be in business if it wasn't for him taking me on his wing and teach me how to be a CEO, be a business owner versus just being a coach. And so here's somebody in 2017 got a Parkinson's diagnosis. And as men, when we are faced with like those kind of diagnoses and things like that, it affects our identity. It affects our confidence. His body and mind are deteriorating, and he's fighting it off and still working out and, honing in on nutrition, lose a little more fat, all the things, but it still is progressing. So in 2020, when all hell broke loose, and trying to maintain things, and here he is looking to run his business and take care of people that have been working for him for decades. And how do you do that? So here's the stress of his disease, or this disorder that's continuing going on, the stress of life, all the things going on. He was a man of faith, man of great prestige, and plenty of money. He took his own life. No one saw it coming. You never saw the man without a smile on his face. I mean, just an amazing man. And it was the heartbreak of that pushed me to start Lionheart. He wasn't just a mentor. There was a private service, memorial service at his house with maybe 50 people or so, and we were invited to be there. And I was able to speak at his funeral. And so it did something to me that kicked me in the heart, kicked me in the nads to go forth in what I believe God was calling me to do, to work with men. And so my wife and I started planning and put things together to do it. And I kept talking about it. And my wife was just like, "You gonna do this or what? How dare you challenge me like this?" I was like, I'm going to show you. So I literally got a hotel room and went to Austin for 2 days and wrote out the program and launched that following week. I did 2 Facebook posts, said I'm looking for 10 guys. 23 guys raised their hand. 15 guys joined in my first cohort with Lionheart, and that's where we started from there. And so Lionheart basically is, all men love to be the lion. We love to be the king. Love to be the king of the jungle, conquer. But the heart side is the compassionate side. It's the courageous vulnerability side. It's, they say Jesus is the lion and the lamb. There's a part of it that, where's our compassion? Where's those things emotional resilience? What are those emotional maturity? Where's that part that we have to allow to come in? And so if you look at the logo itself, it's shaped like a heart for a reason. So the lion is shaped like a heart to display that part of it. So it's not weak to be vulnerable. It's actually being courageous. So catching those ends of things, because most men don't have business problems. They have personal problems that show up in their business. And a lot of it comes down to the money mindset, kids doing crazy stuff. And as we're talking about here, if your marriage is not on point, that's going to affect the way you show up in business and in life.
I thank you for sharing that story of how I didn't realize that. But it is a major problem. I worked construction when I was a teenager, and my boss ended up calling the secretary out. Super successful business, and at lunchtime, he blew his head off with a shotgun. And she came back into the office. Everything was all over. It was a mess. And I didn't know what he was suffering with internally until that happened. So it is a very, very big issue because as men, we put on the armor because we're going out into war outside, right? And we're sometimes suffering and keeping all this stuff on the inside, but we don't really have a brother to talk to about. We don't really have a place to share it. And so we'll just keep pushing it down. Eventually, it just comes out to the surface and it blows up. So that's an amazing mission, man. And that's an amazing reason to have started Lionheart. That is great.
Absolutely. I appreciate it. That's part of it. It's the heart to help change, and that, giving guys permission to say, I'm not okay. Just giving you permission to say I'm not okay, because we all been there before. And I'm not talking just from some book that I read. I know what it's like to drive down the road and the lights of the oncoming 18-wheeler looked appealing. The difference is I didn't meditate on that. I didn't sit there and keep thinking about it. And, well, what about the insurance? And how can I make it work with my kids and my family get paid? And should it be a car accident? Should it be gun appeals? When you start meditating on it and you start, as a man think it, so shall it be. So as you start thinking more on it, you become that. You bring it into your identity, as we talked about before. And now this is something that is constantly in your thought process. The biggest thing is taking every thought into captivity. I need to see what I'm thinking about and cast it down. And then to cast it down, I need to run away from those thoughts, because that's not the solution.
Let's say a man is in a dark place and they may feel that they can't get themselves out of it. What would you say to that guy that may be struggling internally, that may be watching this, where he knows he's resonating with what you're saying, but he doesn't know how to get himself out of this dark place?
Well, reach out. Hey, you can find me anywhere on Calvin Gohard Richard, or any platform. You can reach out to me, reach out to Nick, whoever it may be. But if you got a friend, a pastor, a mentor, somebody to speak to, just talk to somebody. There's a reason why in Genesis, God is talking about all the things. This was good. This was good. This was good. The first thing he said is not good. It's not good for man to be alone. That's spiritual, but it's practical. It's not good for man to be alone. If you're in prison and you get into trouble, like the worst thing they can do for you is put you in solitary confinement. You much rather get beat up and put back in your cell. There's a reason why concentration camps were so popular. Why in slavery days, in American slavery, they separated the father from the family. It brought weakness to him and the family. Who do we look up to? So isolation is one of the worst things we could do. And I call it the pit of despair. In that pit, there's anxiety, depression, sabotage, overwhelm. All the things are in that pit. So my goal is to not, I could throw a rope down and help you up. I like to get in the pit with you and help we work together to pull out together. So I work with guys from, hey, I want to be a better father and make money in my business, to I've been chewing on the barrel of my gun for the last 48 hours. The difference is we got to find the hope. And for me, if you're a believer in Christ, that hope is in Christ. But at the same time, it could be a hope in what's to come, because it's only a season. You're not going to have a whole life of being in despair, being in that pit. It will be in seasons. So typically, you might be when you're looking to hurt yourself or end it or whatever it may be in your pursuit or give up, there's probably sunlight just around the corner. There's opportunity just around the corner. There's joy just around the corner. So you got to hang in there for that. And what do you grasp on? You got to grasp on hope. The opposite of despair is hope. Where's that going to come from? I was just looking at John Wall in the NBA. He's been out for a few years, and he was battling some real dark depression himself, and he wanted to end his life. And his hope was in his kids. His hope was in those things like that. It's like his kids, what will they do? And so he said, if I didn't have my kids, I probably wouldn't be here. So there's certain things even naturally that we could look upon. What's my legacy? What can I do in this particular situation? So prayer, the Bible itself, have a conversation with somebody, because typically, like you would have known, I said that I've dealt with depression and anxiety enough to where I considered suicide myself. But once again, everybody's fighting a battle in some form or fashion. How many times are you going through something tough and you share it with a friend and you're like, yeah, I'm right there too, dude. I was there last month. Yep. Or man, my brother was in the same place. The enemy likes to make us think that we're isolated, and he's called the accuser of the brethren. He basically tells you what you're not. Everything that God says you are, he comes and says you're not that. And so he's the accuser. He's the one that's lying to you all the time. So if you're going to believe those lies, knowing that he's coming against those things. But if I can stand and say those are lies, who am I really? And that's part of like locking into what is your purpose. And most guys walk around aimlessly. They may be chasing at the dollar or climbing the corporate ladder, but the ladder might be on the wrong building. Guys are unfulfilled and feel empty. They may have make good money, but they're being empty because they're not working out of their gifts. And that's part of what I do also, is helping guys. What are your strengths and your gifts and talents? Let's build a life and business according to those things. It's going to be more fulfilling. As you can see, my energy is here. I can't not have coaching conversations. Right. This is me. This is what I do. And when you look back at it, I've been doing this since I was in elementary school, to some form of fashion. I've always been a teacher. I've always been a leader. So the gifts are there. And many times we don't pay attention to those acres of diamonds. You can look that up on YouTube or grab the book. Yeah. It's right in front of us. We're going to look out here, and the world says, go out and find yourself and go find your purpose. Your purpose is already inside of you. When the Bible talks about being fruitful and multiply, it's the fruit has the seed on the inside. Everything that you're looking to do is already going to come from the inside. Now, there's outside forces, sunlight and soil that affect the way that fruit blooms. So there's mentors, there's coaches, there's books, there's certain things. What we're doing this right now, this may pull out something that actually pulls that seed out and nurtures it, but it's already inside of you. The things that you love, the things that you hate, you despise, and the things that come easy to you but are difficult to other people, there's something in those things that bring out who you really are. And so getting back into who you really are as an individual, and what's the big dream? Who do I want to become? What's my legacy going to be like? Who do I know that I'm called to help and serve? Nicholas and I, we know that we're both called to work with men. Different ways, different facets, but there's an element that, like, I have to work with men. Yes, there's some ladies that get help in marital counseling. We literally last night, my wife and I got on as helping a young couple going through a tough stint. So this is something we've been involved with in marital counseling, things like that. So, but we had a meeting all together on Zoom, And then the next time I'm going to talk to him because I'm going to dig in his butt and make sure he's doing his part. My wife's going to do the same thing on her end. So part of it is like helping. You're not supposed to do this by yourself. Someone has gone before you in business and in life and in marriage and in fitness training and strength training. Somebody's gone before you that can save you time, money, energy, and effort because they've already done it well. And they've also made a lot of mistakes along the way to figure things out and let you know, like, yo, I did that. Don't do that. So that's part of it is reach out. The long roundabout answer is reach out. You're not alone. Whatever your situation is, there's somebody who's going through the same thing or have gone through the same thing. So talk.
Absolutely, and a lot of great points you bring up there. And finding purpose or finding calling or having mission is extremely important. And when people are in the military, mission is very important. We have to have the same thing in life, where there's sort of a direction that we're going towards. There's a path that we're going down. And I want to sort of transition into this because now this is very, very important. We've spoken about mental health. We've spoken about guys sort of being in a dark place. In my experience of talking to a lot of men, I know this is something I've dealt with myself. Relationships, whatever goes into them, sometimes relationships can be at the root of why men are going through mental health struggles. In today's society, there's a lot of issues with sort of men and women and how do you get this thing to work, and this person wants this and this person wants this, and I wanted to bring you on because you have a lot of experience in this, and then to see that you just celebrated your 21st anniversary, man, congratulations, because that is no easy feat by any chance. And if you don't mind, if you can maybe share some pieces of information or advice that you would have of how do you navigate this, because a relationship is so important. We could have our physical fitness. We could be strong. We could go after business and career. But if our relationships are in shambles, that's going to affect us quite a bit. And guys, the divorce rate is through the roof. Guys are losing a lot out there. And it's not to put blame on anyone. It's more so to shed light on the situation and how can we navigate this the most effective way possible.
Absolutely. The marriage rate, the divorce rate is just continuing to rise. And and the crazy thing is, like, people, it's all, if you're a Christian, everything gets better. No, it's about the same as if non-Christians. It don't make a difference. You're like, divorce is divorce. And so both of us have come from divorced families. My wife's family, her parents actually got divorced years after we got married. So that was a different scenario. My parents got divorced and remarried. My sister's been divorced. It's just so prevalent around you in so many different ways. But first and foremost, the wife you choose is so important. It is so important to the success in anything. Your success, fulfillment, the meaning and everything is so big. So do not be in a rush. Don't go sticking your bird in everything around you, especially if you mess around and you have these oops. That's a commitment. Whether it's your wife or you're going to have a relationship with that person, no matter what, if there's a child involved, you're going to have a relationship with that person for years and years and years. That woman, even co-parenting, all those things, you got to think about also down the line, grandbabies, you're all going to be together. So that's something to be important. I'm coming from being I didn't come to Christ till I was 24. I was a man whore from a long time. So I ain't speaking from like just some reading from a book. I was a fool. I was a clown. I never got caught up in those things itself. But choosing your spouse is so important. Do not be in a rush to do this because it can make or break your life. It can make or break the way you navigate through business and life and so many different things. So that's one of the things. And guess what? Neither one of us was perfect. We started off in a long distance relationship. I was in Atlanta in grad school while my wife was in New Orleans. So we did a long distance relationship. So you can make any scenario work. That's how we built that relationship. And then once we got, I moved to New Orleans because it made sense. Both of us are from there, and we had help with the family. And so that's how we started there. I was only there for 4 years, but we got married and we lived there for a long time. But there are things to this day that we don't like about each other, and we wish that would have changed. And I'm a Mr. Fix It. And most of the guys here are kind of Mr. Fix. I'll just fix that up. I'll fix that and she'll just be fine. You ain't gonna fix it. You're gonna realize that that's gonna be down the line. It's just what it is, who she is, part of her identity, and you have to suck it up because you're not gonna fix that. You're not gonna change those things. So there are elements that make it difficult, and we're not coming. Look, we've gotten a lot of marriage counseling. We've taught it. We've been, we've taught it. We've been involved in all things, so we know all the things. But we still had some tough stints in our marriage. Like legit, we're not gonna make it to the next anniversary. We've been there before, and so it's. Are you willing to fight? Are you willing to sacrifice? Are you willing to, that whole thing about compromise? It's hard to kind of balance. What does that look like, compromising yourself? But you become one flesh. When you come together, you're one person now. And so there's some elements that come along with that is, once again, tons of marital counseling, tons of going to marriage refreshers and keeping things fresh and renewals and having conversations. We drove back from Dallas on Saturday after being up there at an event and celebrating our 21st, and we had about an hour of heated fellowship. We had some loud discourse going on. So like, it's gonna happen, But early on, I would always go for the jugular vein because that's all I knew was win the argument. And God kind of sharpened me early on in our marriage and checked me on that. It's like, y'all one flesh, right? So when you're killing her, you're killing yourself. Ouch. That was something I had to learn how to argue fair, or to have disagreements fair. And so it takes work, and I truly believe it. Helping is having God in your life, but at the same time, the right people. Some guys get married and still think they're single or want to hang out and do what single guys do. Like, nah, they're gonna get you in trouble, bro. They're gonna get you in trouble. So there's a new identity once again. What things are you willing to sacrifice and be a part of that? But becoming friends, friendship is big. Dating your wife, sometimes we get married. Got the woman. I'm gonna get fat, get lazy, and I'm not gonna date her. I'm not pursuing her. And the way I look at it, you're supposed to be a provider, a priest, a protector, and a pursuer. Those are what a man is supposed to be. Most of us have no problem being a protector. We have no problem like giving our lives and fighting for our wives, or whatever it is. That's not a problem. Priest, being the spiritual leader of your household. It doesn't matter if you don't know the Bible or know scriptures and anything, but there's a spiritual assignment and attachment that you have to lead her in a way that's bigger than her, bigger than you, because the marriage is bigger than each individual. It's a union. So being that priest for their provider, obviously you don't have to be the primary provider. I've been that in my marriage for the longest. My wife for the last 18 or so years hasn't had to work a job. But she's ministry, she speaks, she does websites and marketing, all these things now over the last few years. But I've been the primary provider. So it's on her. She wants to do that. And the pursuer after God and pursuer after her heart. That means I'm dating my wife. I understand her love language. My wife's love language is quality time and gifts. So I need to speak that language. So I know that I'm not giving her quality time if I'm talking to her and I'm on my phone. If I'm in a screen, I'm looking at the TV. That's not giving her the same quality time. Now, if we're watching a movie together or whatever it is, I know I need to be present. And like most of us, I enjoy the work that I do. So I can work all day long. I can come home. I can hop on a computer. I can easily do that. And I have to know that I have to shut it down or communicate and say, babe, I had one little thing I did finish up. It's probably going to take me about 30 minutes. When I'm done with that, I'm all yours. Is that okay? So those communication, other than just assuming she knows I'm working, she knows that I'm trying to provide for this house, she just better suck it up and wait for me to be done. That sometimes I've been there. And a lot of times we can get that way, like communicate with that woman, especially if she needs quality time. And at the same time, the gifts, something simple from Amazon, something simple. My wife is, I'm 48, she's 47, but she's already going through menopause. So hot flashes. I bought a $11 fan from Amazon that she can just take out and fan herself. She was so overjoyed in that gift because it was thoughtful. It wasn't expensive, but it was thoughtful. Yes. And I know that, like, I ordered most of my stuff to come to my studio, but those are the things I got to order to come to the house so she can just be surprised for it. So it's constantly pursuing, man. It's work. You have to be just like you want a successful business or be successful at your work and your job. It takes hard work to work on your marriage. You got to give it some attention.
So I'm hearing constant investment, constant energy. You don't want to remain sort of stagnant and then let things dissipate. And I'm sure you've mentioned that, where you've gotten to points where it's like, we're sort of butting heads. At what is the best way a guy can navigate that when that shows up? Do you feel it maybe take space from each other, or hey, we have to sit down and have a talk? What would you say about that?
It's it's having the wisdom to know the difference. That whole serenity prayer, grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, the courage to change the things that I can, and wisdom to know the difference. And most of the time we don't know because these women crazy. They're different. They're just crazy. Like I tell men, you need to send your wife to come to my studio to Various Fit Transformation Lab, because yes, they're going to look good. They're going to feel good. They're going to have more energy for home exercise, whatever that might be. And lastly, they're going to be less crazy. I'm going to knock some of the crazy off. Now, we can't get rid of all the crazy because they're just going to be crazy. That's just part of their natural. You're going to have some crazy. But if I can take some of the edge off. So once again, it is hard to know, when do I stick into this argument? When do I say, let me come back for it? When do we need space? But you have to know your spouse and know when things may be getting too hot. When things are getting too high. If you have, I'm really slow to anger kind of guy. It takes me a whole lot to get really furious. But when I'm there, I'm not good. So if I feel that, and it's like, babe, I'm not good right now. I do not want to choke slam you. It never happened in anything like that. But I know if I feel that aggressive. So if you know your background, like, okay, there's some things you need to back away from. So know yourself, take ownership in yourself, and also recognize where she's at as well. Because you don't want to say something, do something that you're going to regret. So what does that look like in these moments? Do I need to, continue down this conversation, or do we need to take a break, take a peek, to break away? I might need to step away and take my time to write my wife a note, to write her a note, and write her, send her a card, or just write down what's on my heart, because she's going to take her time to read it and digest what I'm saying. So there's times where I've had to do that, because in our relationship, my wife typically would try to dominate the conversation. I got to say something. Got to say something. I'm a good listener. She's a good listener too, but I'm a better listener, and I can just be still and hear things she needs to say. And then when it's my time to talk, she may talk over me. That used to be her. She's much better at that now. We don't have that same thing as far as talking over each other the same way. It takes a while to get through those things, but part of it is knowing each other's strengths and weaknesses, and where do we need to draw the line in there. And that sometimes you don't know that until you have the practice of those arguments to figure out where those things going to go. 21 years marriage, 24 together. We kind of know each other pretty good now.
That's great. And I hear a main theme coming through with everything that you're touching on. And it seems to be leadership in oneself as a man. You need to know yourself. You need to know who you are. You need to know what you're going after. You need to step into that identity. And as you do that, all of these other things start to fall into place. That's sort of what I'm taking away from this conversation.
Absolutely. It is. When you look at self, sometimes we think, it's selfish to work on self-care, but self-mastery, self-leadership, all the self-respect, self-confidence, all these things are part of you that they need to be built up and grown. And so self-mastery is self-leadership. In the same way, how am I leading myself? How am I leading my wife and kids, whoever it may be? How am I leading in a way that's effective, that's honorable in those particular areas of self? But it all comes down to leadership. It really is.
100%. It's our responsibility. We must take care of the physical health, and we must take care of the mental health as well. And we have to work through that sort of on our own time. That way we can show up to the world 100%. We can then give to the world 100%. Because if we're dealing with all this internal stuff, sometimes now we're going to go to food as the solution, or we're going to go to substances as a solution, and we're going to try to sort of dumb things down. But it's like sweeping dirt under the carpet. Eventually it's going to come back up. So it's better to just do the deep cleaning day by day by day. That way nothing ever builds up, nothing ever blows up, and we can have a way better life.
Absolutely. 100%.
Absolutely, man. I really appreciate you getting on today and having this amazing discussion. You are doing a lot of amazing work out there. With that said, what is the absolute best way someone can contact you, or someone can get in touch with you?
Yeah. If you go to Calvin Gohard Richard, and Richard is spelled like Richard. I'm from New Orleans. It's just pronounced differently. So CalvinGohardRichard.com is my website. I'm on IG. We'll probably put in show notes. I have a free group that's for Lionheart. I'll give content and things inside of there too as well. But yeah, you can go there if you're looking for someone as far as coaching you through in business and in life that wants to up level and into the next level there. This is what I do. But I want to speak to the heart of the matter is what I want to do too as well. Put you in community, being around other like-minded men who want to strive for their greatness. So yeah, those are the best places.
Absolutely. I appreciate you diving as deep as you were willing to dive today, and talk about some of these more serious topics, mental health, depression, and things that men are really struggling with internally. Because it's one thing for us to scroll social media and see the winners, oh, the fancy cars, the good business, the vacations, but we're never really seeing the internal that those guys may sometimes be dealing with. And
Facts.
shedding light on that is very important. So
Absolutely.
you're living in your mission, living in your purpose, man. Great to be connected, brother.
Likewise, likewise. Now, of course, I'm sharing this to my platforms too. So, if somebody want to get in touch with you, what are they looking for? What's the route, and what is it they're looking to up level their life that you can help them so much with?
YouTube, Facebook's the best. Upgrade a Man project, and it is all about fitness is the foundation, health is the foundation. Through that, we can then level up because through that we're dealing with our problems. I used to blow up emotionally. I used to have lots of issues with substances and all things throughout the years. And by dialing in through fitness, because you have to become more disciplined, and then through discipline, you now create freedom because now you have choice, where the other way you're sort of letting your life run you. You are now starting to run your life by upgrading yourself.
Absolutely. Awesome. Awesome. Well, brother, I appreciate the opportunity. I'm glad we can always connect, as over the years, always just watching each other grow and change and morph into to up level man, an upgraded man. So yeah, doing good work, brother. Great to do it together.
Absolutely, brother.
Sweet.
All right. You as well, man. Great to be connected.
Okay, cool.